All right, guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you, man?
Hey, man, doing great.
Good. We're bringing you this podcast, guys, to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on our YouTube channel, Facebook, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Show sponsors are listed below. We cannot do this show without those sponsors. I can't really run my business without those sponsors. So please help and support those guys and companies. Zoom calls. I've been on and off with a Zoom call on a weekly basis. If you guys are interested in that, send me an email, dean@CrestCore.com. I also help buyers and sellers every day. If you're selling investment property here in Memphis, please give me a call or an email, dean@CrestCore.com. I've got a deal of the week.
That's right on.
I'm going to drop the deal of the week to you real quick. Let's do that really fast here. 2475 Monette Avenue, or Monet, Monette Avenue. That's in 38127. This one has got 1,020 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. The property's currently vacant, but it will rent for $1,100. The seller is asking $145,000. This property's in great shape. Not quite at the 1% rule, but I decided to make it the deal of the week because of the condition, and it is vacant. You can place your own tenant. So if we can try to find a way to make these numbers work. 2475 Monet Avenue, 38127 is the deal of the week. Dean@CrestCore.com if you have any more questions about that. So happy to bring that to you. Today, we're going to jump right into what is selling. We're going to end the year. We've got one more podcast next week. We're going to talk about our 2024 predictions and kind of outlook, what we think is coming. And today we're going to give you a little bit about what's selling in this market. So the last 7 months, a lot of you know I have been listing properties for a hedge fund that had some vacant properties that they needed to sell. They just had too many. And when I mean too many, I mean close to 400. And they were all vacant. They all needed rehab, and they needed to move them. So we have been working the last 7 months to sell those for them. They are just about gone. We listed a few more a couple of weeks ago, and that's the last batch of them. So those are selling. Those are all burrs. Those have all been moving off the shelves pretty quick. But I will tell you this, over the last couple of weeks, as I'm sending properties out, if you're on my buyers list, you've been receiving properties this week and last week. If you haven't, shoot me an email. Let's make sure your profile is up to date. But I've been sending out houses, and I'm getting some 1% rule. I'm getting occupied and cash flowing. Next week's deal of the week is, I believe, going to be a 1% rule property. So I've got more of these that are coming from a 1% standpoint, and even better, I'm seeing some MHA Section 8 housing properties that have a high rent, but the values are down here. I think I had one for $1,400 that was occupied that was selling it for $90,000.
Oh my goodness,
which is unbelievable. So have been some other properties that are popping up that have not been available over the last year or more. Even before the hedge fund dump, we weren't seeing a ton of 1% stuff.
No.
So, I mean, we're beginning to see that.
Yeah. No, I put 2 under contract or closed really to this fall that fit that model.
The 1%.
The 1%. One was occupied with a tenant, duplex, both sides. And the other was vacant and turnkey ready. But at the 1%
But you get the 1% rule. And that's another thing I should bring up is turnkey properties. And let me define that real quick. I think that's important. A turnkey property to me is a property provided and sold by a turnkey provider. Everything's new. The floors and the paint, the electric and the roof and the major mechanicals, they just redo it all. There's another form of what some investors will call turnkey, and that's just a property that doesn't need any rehab. It's ready to go. It's available. You know,
where it's probably where the original definition came from, because it's just a turnkey.
That's right.
But then they co-opted it for a type, kind of almost like a sliver of marketing of what that part of the market is.
Both are true.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that we have our definition is the same. Turnkey property from a provider, turnkey provider, all new, brand new, everything. A rental property that does not need any rehab could also be called a turnkey property.
Correct.
So I'm seeing the latter. I'm seeing properties that don't need any rehab, or they have just been kind of freshly rehabbed by a non-turnkey provider.
Yep.
Meaning and you might say, well, what's the difference? Well, if you're over here on this side and it's a non-turnkey provider, turnkey.
Yeah.
If the HVAC is 4 years old, they're not going to replace it.
Correct.
If the roof's 7 years old with no leaks, we're not going to replace that. Whereas on the true turnkey provider, it's all new and that's the way they market it. So let's make sure we have that. But what I am seeing is not the turnkey provider ones, but we're seeing houses that are in great shape, that have been remodeled, renovated, that are available for purchase. And I know what they're doing. They're going, listing agents or sellers are going after a home buyer and an investor. They're looking for both. They're trying to provide an opportunity to sell to a home buyer who will pay maybe a premium or pay more, or they're going to make it available to an investor. Because I'm not seeing these homes that are in good shape, turnkey ready in Cordova and Bartlett. I'm seeing them in Frazier and Raleigh and South Memphis.
Yeah, that's because I have two that I'm thinking one purchased, and they were both of them. One was a fix and flip. So it wasn't a turnkey company, but it was a well done, new everything, sell to a homeowner.
Yep.
But it just didn't, the timing didn't work. So it became an investment property.
That's right.
Which is where I was like, oh, that looks good for what I'm looking for.
So I didn't know that background.
Yes.
But that's exactly what I just described.
I was like, oh, that's exactly what that is. Yeah, you're describing what happened. Yeah. And then I'm thinking of the other one that we had talked about that you listed.
Yeah.
That is kind of like, is this going to be an owner occupant or is this going to be an investor? There's a little bit of wiggle room in there for the client we're working for.
Which is, let's give that, what's the
4584.
4584 Deering. That's what he's talking about. It's available. This is another one that we have.
You got listed client we know.
Yeah, client we know. 4584 Deering, and it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Available for an investor. I don't think it needs much at all. I think if you were going to live in it, maybe a tad more, but I mean, even then, not much. The house is in great shape, and it's in 38117.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Colonial Acres, which is a phenomenal area. So
yeah, check it out.
Great plug for Deering. Yeah, but yes, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As soon as you started talking about that, I was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. That's exactly the one I bought. Oh, ding, ding, ding. That's exactly the one that I've worked
And that's
with
not just
on.
you. I'm seeing that all over, and it's a strategic thing. It's hey, there's low inventory.
Yes.
Low.
Yep.
So if you're going to be in the market of selling something, why not open it up to everybody? So let's get your house in good shape. There was a podcast we did a couple of weeks ago about getting your home ready to sell. Yeah. Reference that and go back to there and let's see what you need to do. But getting the property ready, doing some minor repairs, and opening up your buyer pool from investors to homeowners is a good idea.
Yes.
Right.
And I think you mentioned it. I mean, I got the little stats. We've done them before. But right now where our inventory is, everybody knows it's gone up a little bit. It was historically low. It's gone up a little bit. I checked. It's exactly where it was pre-COVID. So at the end of 2019 is exactly where our inventory is.
I think I'm surprised to hear that. I don't know why. I don't know why. Like I'm trying to date back and go to 19 and 20, but I guess that's where we were at. We were running low on houses to sell. They had moved so fast in 17 and 18. And
inventory went. I mean, obviously it went up really bad in a Great Recession, and then over that decade, it went down, and got pretty low. But we were operating. I mean, operating in 2018 and 19, people weren't wringing their hands and saying, "Oh, there's not inventory."
No,
they were just buying and selling and transacting. And then COVID came, obviously, and inventory got scarce. And then,
so what you're saying is we're a product of the moment. Is that we're looking at the moment and we should be looking back going, hey, this is actually not that bad.
This is not that bad.
Yeah.
It's okay. And even if I looked at this like inventory would have to double. It would have to go increase anywhere between 50 and 100%. So when, almost half or doubling to get to where we were in that 2015, 16, 14, 13, kind of in that area.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a minute before we can get to that.
I do too.
I don't know.
But I guess what I'm going back and thinking is like you and I know, well, we were running hard in 13, 14, 15, 16. And it was the inventory, right? prior to that, it felt normal.
Yes.
So
yes, it did. It felt like that's where we were supposed to be.
Where we were supposed to be. So it's like we're almost getting
back to
sort of kind of where we're supposed to be. Sort of. Another point to what's selling now are deals with cash. Yes.
Lines of credit. Hard money lenders,
Yes.
Corlin Financial show sponsor. You can get you a hard money loan. Those are working.
Yes.
More and more, I'm seeing actual hard money loans.
Yeah.
Because the rates are not too far off from where it's at right now.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
There's no doubt from Corland that their application volume is improved because of high rates or comparable, because of high rates from banks, traditional banks, as well as banks are a lot more stringent right now than they are in loose times. They're just tighter. They've
even with
swung the
experienced
pendulum.
investors. I've gotten more questions over the last few months than I have in a while, but it's just questions and, hey, what direction are you going in?
Yeah.
But again, I'll go back to another podcast that we did a few weeks ago about keeping in touch with your bankers and your clients during some of these downtimes.
To your point is, I've been as active as I have been over the past 6 months than I have in the past few years. And I have lost so many bids recently to cash buyers, hard money buyers.
It's happening.
Buyers with lines of credit. So
that's right.
People who are able to act quick, offer a lot, and
close
fast.
Yeah. So more occupied and cash flowing houses are showing up. I'm seeing more of those being listed, and you might, one of the things that and we can kind of close with this, but one of the things I've talked about with mismanagement. You've heard me mention that over the last couple of months, and this to me is a tell sign of mismanagement is about to surface.
Yeah.
If you have a property that's occupied at the market rent and they're paying, then why are you selling? There might be something in your personal life. No problem. That happens.
It happens.
Likely mismanaged. Your maintenance is out of control. Your whatever. And now it's beginning to surface. I believe we're going to see more and more and more of that. Mm-hmm. Because there's no reason in the world, unless you have an unexpected, let's take out unexpected life things, right? Let's pretend that does not factor here. Why else would you sell a property that's occupied at market rent? Mm-hmm. You've mismanaged somewhere. You've done something somewhere.
It could be part of your portfolio. The other houses aren't working.
Yeah, because most people don't have a strategy to say, hey, I'm going to buy 5 rentals, hold them for 3 years exactly, and then I'm going to sell them. I'm going to move it into something else.
Yeah.
That's not what people do. Mm-mm. If you're selling, I tell you what, we know of someone in our market.
There you go.
Who is selling every single property that person has, and they're 90% of them are all occupied and cash flowing. And we're aware of what's going on, and we believe that person is struggling, but they're selling everything. Why would you be selling everything?
If you hadn't mismanaged.
Or anything. Yeah. If it's occupied and you're selling it, remember, excluding personal things that happen in your personal life. I'm talking just from the business standpoint, and you're selling them for that. There's a reason. And you've mismanaged, or you've overextended, or you've done something to distract yourself from what's going on.
And those opportunities, you have been saying this. I mean, you can go back, 18 months worth of these podcast episodes, maybe 2 years when you talked about that mismanagement was going to continue to surface. And it has over that time period, and it continues to. So, I mean, that's one of those where you've called it the whole time that there are going to be opportunities for people who are looking for mismanaged properties.
Because another part of that is the interest rate, their balloons are going to come up. We're hitting 23. We're now about to go into 24. So if you bought a house in 19 during the hay at 4% interest, 5,
now
you're now about to hit 8.5,
9 maybe,
and you're going to run into issues. So be careful of the position you're putting yourself in. If you need to sell these, because I would run some numbers at 9%. And if that doesn't work for you, you might ought to look ahead of this and let's get out of this. And that way that, you can at least regroup. But we're going to continue, I believe, in 24 and even moving on to see some mismanagement.
And I think you said if somebody's out there who is in this scenario, they've mismanaged, they need to sell. Now is the time.
Now is the time. I can give you a free CMA competitive market analysis of the property, or just give you some comps to show you what we can sell it for, and you can move it. There are people, like I've said, that are buying homes. We're closing 70 deals this month, right? A lot of those are some of the hedge funds, but we've got another 20 or so that are not. So there are people buying homes and there are deals that are out there. So I would encourage you to understand what's selling. This is the reason why we did this today. Understand what's selling and why, and just be aware of what's coming up. And I think your 2024 podcast next week is going to really give you some ideas of the future.
Yeah. And I think I would kind of go into close in that it's, I feel like I've said this before, if you're looking to sell, man, now is a good time to sell because there are people. But if you're looking to buy, it's a good opportunity. There are deals out there. There are sellers who are willing. It's a good time to be a buyer or a seller.
That's right.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time today. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back here next week. We're going to do the 2024 outlook and predictions. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks, guys.